2 years ago, my world came crashing down when I found out my husband had cheated on me. The betrayal deepened when I discovered the other woman was my younger sister. To add insult to injury, they even sent me an invitation to their wedding, which my mother also planned to attend. This felt like a double betrayal from my family. My name is Teresa, and I used to work at the same company as my husband, where I was also his boss. Initially, he seemed a bit unreliable, yet he was earnest and affable. I was responsible for his training, guiding him through the intricacies of our work. At first, he was anxious about the unfamiliar tasks, but over time, we developed a close bond. I still remember the thrill when he asked me out. It was our first step beyond professional boundaries, and it made my heart race. We started dating, and 7 months later, he had become proficient in his role, even earning praise from my peers. His success felt like my own. He soon received a promotion and moved to a different department, and shortly after, he proposed. We had a beautiful wedding, and both my parents and younger sister Judy immediately warmed up to Thomas. Judy especially, who was the same age as Thomas, bonded with him quickly. She had just ended a relationship and often mentioned how envious she was of our marriage. Following the wedding, I continued to juggle my career and home life, supporting Thomas in both spheres. However, about a year into our marriage, Thomas began coming home increasingly late. This was the beginning of a series of events that led to our eventual divorce and the painful revelations that followed. As time went on, Thomas and I found ourselves sharing fewer meals together, a sign that our schedules and perhaps our lives were drifting apart. One evening, I addressed the elephant in the room. "Thomas, we haven't really talked about work lately. Is everything okay? You've been coming home late every day. If there's anything I can do to help, just let me know." "There isn't," he replied tersely. He used to share everything with me, but now it seemed like even mentioning work irritated him. On his days off, Thomas would either sleep through the day, claiming exhaustion, or go out alone to clear his head. I felt the growing distance between us and decided to make a suggestion that might help us reconnect. "Hey, Thomas, how about we go to a spa together during next month's holiday? My sister recommended a great place." "A spa, huh?" He didn't seem enthused, but I went ahead and made hotel reservations with the spa, hoping it would be a nice break for both of us. A week before our planned trip, I tried to finalize our plans. "Thomas, what time should we leave the house next week?" "Huh? Oh, is the spa trip next week? I forgot to mention I have to go on a business trip during that weekend." "But you've known about the spa trip for quite some time," I pointed out, a mix of disappointment and frustration in my voice. "Well, it's work, so it can't be helped, right?" he responded, and that was that. His department was as busy as ever, frequently sending him on business trips. Reluctantly, I had to give up on our plans. As always, Thomas left early in the morning for his business trip. If things had gone as planned, we would have been on our way to the spa together. Feeling down about how things had turned out, I received an unexpected phone call. It was from the hotel where I had made the spa reservation. Despite having sent a cancellation email, they hadn't received it due to an error and were calling to confirm our arrival time. That's right, I thought, seizing the opportunity. I might as well invite Judy. I called my parents' house to ask her, but I was told that Judy had been out since the morning and wouldn't be back anytime soon. Feeling a bit lost and in need of some support, I decided to invite my mother to the spa as a last-ditch effort. I wasn't expecting her to agree, especially on such short notice, but to my surprise, she accepted my invitation. "Really, Mom? Is it okay to leave Dad alone?" "Right now, I'm more worried about you than your father," she replied. It seemed she had noticed I had been feeling down lately and chose to accompany me to lift my spirits. "Thanks, Mom," I said, grateful for her support. "I'm the one who should be thanking you," she smiled. "I'm happy to be able to take a trip like this with you." Determined to enjoy the trip, I set off with my mother, looking forward to some peaceful time together, something we hadn't done in a long while. However, our plans for a relaxing getaway were shattered upon arriving at the hotel. "Mom, look at that!" I gasped in disbelief. There, at the very hotel we had booked, was Thomas. He was supposed to be on a business trip, yet there he was, arm in arm with a woman, both looking quite happy as they entered the hotel. As they walked in, the woman turned her face towards us for a moment. My heart sank. It was Judy, my sister. The shock was overwhelming, and the next thing I knew, I was back at home, barely remembering the journey. My mother made some tea, which helped me begin to calm down. The realization hit hard. Thomas had been deceiving me, and so had Judy. After gathering myself, I called Thomas's department to confirm my suspicions. As I suspected, they had been cutting down on business trips and overtime for the past few years. There was no way Thomas should have been traveling as much as he claimed. Discussing Thomas's late nights and supposed business trips with my mother, we realized that on those same days, Judy was also consistently absent from home. It all added up too neatly. He wasn't working late or traveling for business. He was meeting up with Judy. As the truth dawned on me, anger bubbled up inside, overshadowing the sadness. "Mother, I'll divorce Thomas," I declared firmly, "and I don't want to see Judy, so I won't be visiting the house for a while." My mother stayed silent, understanding and respecting my decision. Before Thomas returned, I meticulously prepared everything for a new chapter in my life. I drafted the divorce papers, signed a lease for a new apartment to stay in temporarily, and arranged for a new house where I would eventually settle. I packed my belongings and moved out swiftly, leaving behind only the divorce papers with a detailed letter for Thomas at our old house. The letter outlined that all matters concerning alimony and other legal issues would be handled by my lawyer. After securing everything, I made sure to block all his contacts to cut off any possibility of unnecessary communication. I chose not to share my new address with my parents, as I didn't want Judy and Thomas to learn about it. Although Thomas and I still worked at the same company and sometimes crossed paths, I completely ignored him. Recognizing the gravity of the situation, he promptly agreed to the divorce. He maintained discretion about the reasons for our separation at work, and although our colleagues sensed something was amiss, they respectfully avoided the topic. 2 years had passed with this distance between me, Thomas, and my family. One day, after returning home from work, I was surprised to find my mother waiting for me. "Mom, what's wrong?" I asked, noticing her serious demeanor. She held out an invitation. "This is from Thomas and Judy," she explained, revealing that Judy had moved out of our family home to live with Thomas. The news of their upcoming wedding, which they had formally invited our parents to, was a shock, though perhaps it shouldn't have been. "So, Mom, are you going?" I asked, a lump forming in my throat. "Of course I am," she replied. Yet, sensing my dismay, she quickly added, "I'm just kidding. Don't worry, I'm not going." It became clear that Thomas and Judy had intentionally not invited me, knowing I hadn't forgiven them. Feeling isolated from Thomas and even my parents, my spirits were dampened. Yet, my mother's reassurance and her decision to stand by me brought a slight smile to my face, helping to ease the sting of betrayal just a bit. On the day of the wedding, amidst my resolve to forgive them, my mother unexpectedly called me through a video call. I don't want to see their faces, I thought, nearly ending the call. However, recalling my mother's earlier encouragement, I stayed on the line. The call showed a slideshow being presented at the ceremony. The MC announced that the slideshow was crafted by the bride's mother, tracing her daughter's life from birth to the present. I was taken aback by my mother's unexpected technological savvy, which sparked a pang of sadness in me. "Mom, you did all this for Judy?" I wondered silently. But as I watched, puzzled, I realized something startling. The slideshow began not with pictures of Judy, but with a photo of me as a newborn. The resemblance between me and Judy in our baby photos might have confused some, but as the slideshow continued, it became clear that the focus was unexpectedly on me. The guests seemed to relax in the nostalgic atmosphere, but Judy's expression tightened as the MC narrated. Since she was young, the bride has always been devoted to her family, a diligent student who succeeded in entering her desired university. Murmurs rose among Judy's friends and colleagues, who were familiar with her actual academic and professional background. Huh, is that a photo from the university welcome party? Judy didn't go to such a prestigious university, did she? Someone whispered. Hey, isn't that from the company's welcome party? Another questioned. A closer inspection by the guests led to puzzled whispers. Wait a minute, this isn't Judy at all. Even Thomas, taken aback, murmured in confusion. What the hell is this? This isn't Judy. Unaware of the growing commotion and the bride and groom's increasingly pale faces, the MC continued with the narrative, presenting slides that detailed how the bride had initially met Thomas at the company, where she had been his mentor and eventually his wife. The story being told was mine, not Judy's, leading to an unexpected revelation at the wedding. The wedding slideshow continued, now displaying photos from my wedding with Thomas. The MC's initial confusion escalated as the pictures transitioned, reflecting a story different from the one expected. The atmosphere grew tense, and it became evident something was amiss. At that crucial moment, my mother stepped onto the stage and took the microphone from the MC. From here on, I'll take over and explain, she announced, her voice calm yet firm, as she masterfully navigated through the slideshow. She began detailing how, even after marrying Thomas, I had supported him tirelessly in both his personal and professional life. However, as Thomas became busier, he found less and less time for her, she explained. The crowd listened, rapt, as she narrated my attempt to plan a spa trip to help him de-stress. Wait, please. Thomas tried to interject, but my mother, undeterred by his frantic gestures or Judy's increasingly pale face, pressed on. She advanced the slideshow to a photo of Thomas and another woman entering a hotel, looking intimately close. The next slide confirmed the woman was me, and the realization dawned on the guests as the room fell silent. Thomas declined the trip planned by my daughter, citing a business trip he couldn't avoid, my mother continued. My daughter then invited me to join her at the spa, where we unexpectedly witnessed his affair. Murmurs filled the room as guests began to buzz about the revelations. An affair? And this wedding is for Judy and Thomas, right? Could it be that their relationship began from an affair? As questions swirled around the room, my mother responded to the growing curiosity, her voice steady. Thomas had promised to marry my beloved daughter, Teresa, and make her happy. Instead, he betrayed her with her sister, Judy. Mother, stop it already. Today is my wedding day. Why won't you celebrate my happiness? Judy cried out, trying to regain control of her narrative. Despite the emotional plea, my mother remained composed, her gaze fixed on Judy as she replied, I have always wished for your happiness, but not at the expense of your sister's. The room echoed with the weight of her words, leaving an indelible mark on what was meant to be a celebration. But you were the one who ruined it first, my mother sternly addressed Judy. Teresa has always considered not only her happiness, but also that of her entire family. What about you, Judy? Have you ever considered how deeply your actions would wound Teresa? Judy tried to defend her position, claiming, but she always seems so happy. It's not fair that instead of being happy for your family, you're just jealous. Mother-in-law, please stop, pleaded Thomas, his voice laced with frustration. She is your precious daughter too, right? If that's the case, can't you celebrate our new beginning? Why are you doing this? I don't want to become family with someone as dishonest as you, my mother retorted, her disappointment clear. I saw it clearly at today's ceremony. If you intended to start a new life with Judy, why didn't you invite a single person from your own company? If you're having such a grand ceremony, shouldn't you first apologize to Teresa? It's selfish to invite me and her father to the wedding without making any effort to reconcile. But Teresa has been ignoring me all this time, Thomas tried to justify. Of course she has after what you've done. my mother snapped back. It's only natural, but that's all in the past, isn't it? Do you think her wounds will heal in just 2 years? Do you think you can regain our trust in such a short time? Don't be ridiculous. With those final words, my mother, followed by my father, angrily left the venue. I could still hear her voice through the cell phone. Did you see that, Teresa? Yes, and I'm sorry for reminding you of painful things. I just can't stand seeing these two acts like nothing happened, she confessed. No, thank you, I replied, feeling a wave of relief wash over me. It's like you said everything I wanted to say. That's right, Teresa. You always keep everything to yourself, my mother noted. I thought it was just too kind of you not to tell your colleagues the reason for your divorce. Later, my mother sent me a recording of her conversation with Thomas during the wedding. As she had pointed out, even over time, some things are not easy to forget. Thomas displayed no signs of remorse, casually dismissing his actions as a thing of the past. I resolved to start anew by ensuring he faced consequences for his betrayal. My plan took shape when I learned he was scheduled to give a presentation at our company, open to employees from various departments. I quickly volunteered and secured a spot in the audience. During the conference, as Thomas took the stage, his supervisor, unaware of his recent remarriage, commented, "Thomas, you seem even more motivated today because you just got married." "Yes, I will do my best for my family," he replied cheerfully, knowing full well I was present in the room. Bolstered by his audacity, I was determined to expose him. I played the recorded audio my mother had sent me, detailing his affair with my sister, right there during his presentation. The sudden eruption of the recording surprised the attendees, but as they grasped the situation, the affair with my sister following our marriage, they began to openly question him. "Thomas, didn't you claim the divorce was due to a difference in values?" Someone called out from the crowd. I couldn't help but laugh. "Oh, really? Did you say something like that? Well, I also can't understand a value that involves cheating with your own wife's sister." I then stood, my voice steady but resolute. "I apologize for mixing personal matters into this important internal presentation. I have decided to quit as of today. I have enjoyed working here, but I cannot bear to be in the same place as him any longer." As I moved to leave, the board members intervened. "Wait a minute, Teresa," one of them said. "You're an essential asset to our company. If someone should leave, it should be Thomas. But me, I've been expected to have a promising future," Thomas protested, clearly shaken. "We had expectations in the past," they replied, signaling a shift in their support towards me rather than him, reflecting the gravity of his misconduct. Recently, Thomas's appearance began to reflect his internal turmoil. His clothes were worn, and his focus at work had sharply declined. It seemed he had lost the problem-solving skills that once defined him. "We're not expecting much from you anymore," the board members remarked during a meeting, highlighting the stark reversal in their perception of him. Judy, who had never been particularly adept at managing household chores even while living with her parents, had become a full-time housewife after marrying Thomas. However, she largely left the bulk of the domestic responsibilities to Thomas, even as he struggled with increasing challenges at work. Without my guidance, which had previously helped steer him clear of professional pitfalls, Thomas's performance suffered further. The revelation of his affair with his wife's sister circulated within the company, tarnishing his reputation irreparably. At a decisive board meeting, it was determined that I would remain with the company due to my value and contributions, while Thomas would be relocated to a remote branch, a move signaling his eventual exit from the company. Judy, having enjoyed a comfortable life financed by Thomas, quickly abandoned him upon learning of his impending job loss. She soon attached herself to another man who turned out to be a freeloader. Burdened by his debts, Judy found herself working 3 jobs, struggling to make ends meet both day and night. As the old saying goes, what goes around comes around. The consequences of their actions had come full circle, Catching up with both Thomas and Judy, observing their downfall from a distance, I finally felt a profound sense of closure and the freedom to move forward with my life, unburdened by the past.